It was one of those quiet late evenings when the world outside felt softer, like it had taken a deep breath and finally exhaled. I was curled up on the couch, half watching the TV while my hands cradled a warm mug of chamomile tea. Then I heard it, the cheerful ping of my phone, a voice message from Daniel. That sound always made my heart skip, and without even realizing it, I smiled. I imagined him saying something sweet, maybe an, "I miss you," maybe a joke only we understood. I tapped play, and his voice wrapped around me, low, intimate, with that warmth that used to melt me. "I can't stop thinking about last night. You looked so good. She has no idea." My smile froze in place, my breath catching before I could even process it. Those words, they weren't for me. Then came the final blow, delivered with almost lazy confidence. "I'll tell her I'm working late again tonight. Can't wait to see you." My fingers tightened around the phone, as if holding it harder could change what I'd just heard. The room didn't feel the same anymore. My cozy evening had been replaced by a cold, hollow stillness. Inside me, something locked into place. A shift I couldn't undo. I didn't replay it right away. I just sat there, staring at the dark screen of my phone, the weight of those words pressing against my chest. My mind felt like it was splintering into two halves, one clinging to the man I thought I knew, the other already piecing together what his slip had revealed. I could hear the television still murmuring in the background, but it sounded far away, as if the whole room had shifted into some parallel version of my life. When I finally hit play again, it wasn't to torture myself. It was to be sure. To burn his tone, his inflection, his careless certainty into my memory. Each time I listened, I caught more. The way he lingered on certain words, the soft chuckle at the end, as if nothing in the world could touch their little secret. That laugh told me more than the words ever could. A strange calm settled over me, almost unnatural. I thought I'd cry, or shake, or scream. But instead, my heartbeat slowed. I took a deep breath and saved the audio to my phone, then forwarded it to my email, just in case. If he'd sent me a message, I'd keep it safe, because something told me this would be the beginning of a very different conversation. I placed the phone face down on the coffee table, but it was too late. The words were etched into my mind, playing on a loop that no silence could break. I stared at the steam curling up from my tea, wondering how many times he'd worked late, how many nights had actually belonged to her. My fingers drummed lightly against my leg, not from nerves, but from something sharper. Focus. I thought about the way Daniel had kissed me goodbye that morning, casual and easy, like a man with nothing to hide. I remembered the faint smell of cologne on his jacket last week, a scent I didn't recognize, and how he'd brushed it off as just from the office. Little moments that had felt strange at the time now clicked into place, forming a picture I didn't want to see but couldn't ignore. I didn't text him back, not tonight. Instead, I leaned back into the couch, letting the shadows of the room settle around me. If this was the game he wanted to play, fine. But I'd be the one choosing the ending. And I already knew it wasn't going to be the one he expected. The next morning, I woke up with the message still echoing in my head, but my face in the mirror didn't give a thing away. No puffy eyes, no trembling lips, just me, steady as ever. If Daniel noticed anything different, he'd probably assume I was just tired. And that was exactly what I wanted. He didn't deserve to see the storm forming behind my calm. I slipped into the rhythm of our usual texts, good morning, little jokes, the casual updates couples send each other during the day. My fingers moved like they always did, but every tap on the screen was calculated. I wanted him relaxed, comfortable. I wanted him to believe nothing had changed. Meanwhile, that recording sat safely in my email, a quiet weapon waiting for its moment. It was strange how something as small as a voice message could become the centerpiece of an entirely new plan. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was curious. Who was she? How long had this been going on? And more importantly, how could I make him regret pressing send? I started watching him differently, like an actress studying her scene partner, noting every subtle shift, every hesitation between lines. The way he'd pause before answering a question about his day. The slightly delayed smile when I asked if he'd be home for dinner. Even the way his eyes darted to the side when his phone buzzed on the counter. These were things I might have brushed off before. Now, they were neon signs. At night, I'd lie beside him, pretending to drift into sleep while he scrolled through his phone. My breathing slowed, my face turned toward the wall, but my ears were sharp, waiting for the faint clicks of typing, the muffled laugh he thought I couldn't hear. The man I loved was right there beside me, and yet I'd never felt so alone, or so awake. Each lie he told was a thread, and I was quietly collecting them, weaving them into something bigger. Something that would unravel in a way he'd never see coming. But I needed more than suspicion. I needed answers. And if he thought I'd confront him like some heartbroken fool, he didn't know me at all. So I kept my smile ready and my voice light, slipping questions into conversation the way a fisherman casts a line. Casual, patient, waiting for the tug. Busy day at work? Who was on the call so late? Little things. Just enough to make him answer without thinking. And every now and then, there'd be a flicker in his eyes, the tiniest crack in his script, and I'd tuck that detail away for later. I didn't rush. I couldn't. This wasn't about catching him in the moment. It was about building something undeniable, something even he couldn't talk his way out of. Every observation was a puzzle piece, and with each day that passed, the picture grew clearer. The more I saw, the more I understood just how long this had been going on. But I wasn't ready to play my hand yet, not until I knew exactly who she was. Because when I finally moved, I wanted her sitting right there in the middle of the fallout. It didn't take long for the trail to lead me somewhere familiar, his so-called work events. Those evenings he claimed were full of deadlines, and late-night brainstorming suddenly had a face attached to them. Her name was Maya. Pretty, polished. The kind of woman who knew exactly how to pose for a group photo and somehow end up standing next to him in every single one. I found her through a tagged picture on social media, smiling in a dimly lit restaurant with a caption about team celebrations. Daniel was in the background, his arm draped over the back of her chair like it belonged there. My stomach tightened, but my hands stayed steady on the screen. I clicked through more photos. There they were at a charity gala, at a rooftop bar, even at what looked like a weekend wine tasting. All work. Each image felt like another small match, striking in the dark. I wasn't angry in the way I expected to be. I was deliberate. Focused. Maya wasn't just a name now, she was a part of the story. And knowing that made the ending I was writing for them both even sharper in my mind. I didn't confront him. Not when I saw those photos. Not when I found the posts she'd liked at odd hours. The little inside jokes buried in their comments. Instead, I let the information settle in me like a secret only I was clever enough to hold. The more I knew, the calmer I became. If I played this right, I could make sure neither of them ever forgot what they'd done. At dinner, I'd ask him about his day, my tone light, my eyes steady. He'd talk about meetings or client calls, and I'd nod along, as if I hadn't already seen the evidence of his night out. It was a strange power, knowing the truth while he performed his lies like some rehearsed monologue. Maya's world began to take shape in my mind. Where she worked. Where she liked to eat. Which friends she tagged most often. I didn't need to guess about the connection between them anymore. It was all there, mapped out like a trail I could follow whenever I wanted. And soon, I'd choose the perfect place for it to end. The idea came to me slowly, like a photograph developing in darkroom chemicals. Faint outlines first, then details so sharp they almost cut. I wouldn't just end things. I'd make sure the moment landed with precision, in a way that would burn itself into their memories, public, undeniable, and timed so perfectly that neither of them could hide behind excuses. So I kept the act going, sweet texts, weekend plans, even a kiss goodbye in the morning that felt like placing a seal on an envelope I already knew I'd set on fire. Every word, every gesture, every smile I gave him now had an expiration date. He just didn't know it. By now, I knew where she'd be, and when. I knew his schedule better than he did. All that was left was choosing the stage, and making sure every seat in the house was full when the curtain went up. The invitation came on a Wednesday evening, as if the universe had decided to hand me my stage. Daniel mentioned it casually over dinner. A dinner party at a friend's place, lots of colleagues, a few of my acquaintances too. He framed it like a social obligation, but I could see the flicker of pride in his eyes. This was his crowd, his image to polish. I smiled and agreed instantly, already feeling the weight of the small portable speaker tucked away in my mind. It was sitting in my desk drawer at home, harmless for now, but in my head it had already become the sharpest weapon I owned. All I'd have to do was press one button, and the truth would speak for itself. Over the next few days, I played my role flawlessly. I helped him pick out a shirt, asked about the guest list, even joked about how we'd better not be the last to arrive. He never suspected a thing. And why would he? In his mind, he was still in control, still the one managing the narrative. He didn't realize I was about to hijack it entirely. The night of the party, I dressed with care. Not too flashy, not too understated. Just enough to blend into the crowd until I was ready to stand out. The portable speaker fit perfectly inside my handbag, hidden between my wallet and a lipstick I probably wouldn't use. On the ride over, Daniel was in high spirits, humming along to the radio, his hand resting lightly on my knee as if everything in our world was exactly as it should be. The house was already buzzing when we arrived, glasses clinking, warm laughter spilling from the kitchen, the low hum of conversations weaving together. I smiled, greeted familiar faces, and followed him through the rooms like any proud girlfriend would. All the while, I kept one hand near my bag, feeling the outline of my plan resting there like a secret heartbeat. When it was his turn to speak, mid-toast, glass raised, words about trust and loyalty spilling from his mouth like cheap wine, I felt a calm so deep it almost scared me. Every eye was on him, and in a few seconds they wouldn't be. I stepped forward, my smile fixed, but my pulse steady. "Speaking of loyalty," I said, my voice cutting through the hum of the room. "Daniel, I think everyone here deserves to hear the man of the hour." A few people chuckled, expecting a playful story. Daniel's brow furrowed slightly, but before he could speak, I reached into my bag. The click of the speaker powering on was almost lost under the shifting of bodies, but the moment his voice filled the room, silence fell like a dropped curtain. "I can't stop thinking about last night. You looked so good. She has no idea. I'll tell her I'm working late again tonight. Can't wait to see you." Every face turned toward him, then to Maya, sitting just a few feet away, frozen mid-sip of her wine. Her cheeks flushed deep red, while Daniel's expression went from confusion to horror in the span of a heartbeat. The air was thick, unblinking, and for once, he had no clever line to save himself. I didn't stay to watch the full collapse. The moment the recording ended, the room seemed to breathe in and hold it, whispers starting like cracks in glass, people exchanging glances they'd never take back. Maya set her glass down hard enough to make it clink, then pushed back her chair and stormed out without looking at him. Daniel called after her once, then twice, but his voice had lost all the authority he loved to carry. I slipped my bag over my shoulder, ignoring his outstretched hand and the frantic look in his eyes. My heels clicked against the hardwood as I walked past a circle of colleagues who wouldn't meet his gaze anymore. No one tried to stop me. No one needed to. I wasn't leaving in anger. I was leaving with every ounce of control I'd come to claim. Outside, the cool night air felt cleaner, lighter, like it had been waiting for me. I didn't check my phone, didn't look back at the windows glowing behind me. Whatever happened in that house next was his mess to live in. I was already done with it. In the days that followed, I expected silence from him, a retreat, maybe even shame. Instead, my phone lit up constantly with calls I ignored, voicemails I never listened to. Friends who'd been at the party sent me messages, some supportive, some stunned, all confirming one thing. The story had spread far beyond that living room. Daniel's perfect image had cracked in public, and there was no glue strong enough to fix it. A week later, the calls turned into long texts, paragraphs begging for a chance to explain. You misunderstood. It wasn't what it sounded like. Each line reeked of desperation, the kind that only comes when someone realizes they've lost control of the narrative. I didn't reply. My silence was louder than any confrontation could have been. And then, one night, another message. Shorter this time. Just a plea for forgiveness, no excuses. I opened it, read the first sentence, and without finishing, hit delete. My phone screen went dark, and with it, the last thread connecting me to him finally snapped. Weeks passed, and life found a new rhythm, one that didn't include second-guessing a partner's late nights or decoding half-truths. My mornings felt lighter, my evenings quieter, and for the first time in months, I slept without wondering who he was really with. Sometimes I'd catch myself smiling at the smallest things. A perfectly brewed cup of coffee, sunlight spilling through the blinds, reminders that peace can be louder than chaos if you let it. Daniel became a ghost story people whispered about in certain circles, his downfall replayed in the corners of dinner conversations I'd never attend. I didn't need updates. I already knew the ending. Men like him always think they're the author, never realizing they can be written out of the story entirely. In the end, he'd taught me something without meaning to, how powerful a message can be. His was meant to be secret, hidden in the dark. Mine? I made sure it was loud enough for everyone to hear.